Hey guys. So I have a topic that's kind of near and dear to my heart for you this week, and it's about how your words have so much power, way more power than you know. And it's a lesson I've been working on myself the last few weeks, and I thought I would share it with you today. I'm going to give you two examples of phrases, very common phrases that we use a lot, and I think we get in the habit of using them at some point in time. Maybe they served us in some way to say these things. But as our lives change, obviously we need to, take a step back and reevaluate the things that we're saying to ourselves because those words are so powerful. Not only are they powerful to the people you're saying them to and how they see you, but they're also powerful internally to yourself. In fact, that's probably even more important than how other people think of you when you speak, but how you speak to yourself, because you only have so many energy units during the day. And if you're spending them saying things that are disempowering to yourself, just imagine how much more great stuff you could get done if you were instead saying really powerful things to yourself. So, phrase that is really, really so common is the words, I can't. So if someone asks you something or you ask someone else something and they say, I can't, it's really disempowering to the whole situation, right? Because you don't always know, unless they are actually physically being restrained or emotionally restrained. If you're actually being restrained, the words I can't aren't always very true. So if you ever find yourself saying I can't, I invite you to just take a moment and ask yourself, is this really true? Or am I actually making a choice? Because that's usually the truth of it. When you say I can't, you may be trying to spare someone's feelings, or you may not know how exactly to answer the question, or it may just be out of habit, right? You've learned this from somewhere to say, oh, sorry, I can't go with you because I'm too busy. I can't eat that. That's very common when we're talking about our health. People go on diets and they say, oh, I can't have carbs, or I can't have sugar, I can't have alcohol, I can't have cheese, or whatever. And if you find yourself saying this, stop and say, wait a minute. Is it actually that I'm being restrained from having these things, or am I choosing not to? Do I choose not to eat certain foods? Do I choose not to go certain places? Do I choose not to do certain activities? And if you can kind of reframe that and realize that the true words you're probably trying to say are I don't, or I don't choose to do that, or I would rather not. And those are perfectly fine things to say out loud. And in fact, when you say things like that, you're really taking a stand for yourself. You're really having your own back, and you're really letting people see you truthfully in what you actually mean. And that is so powerful. Not only does it develop a real sense of trust with yourself, but it develops more trust with other people. Even if their feelings are hurt a little bit, if you're like, no, I don't go to farmers markets, I don't like them, or I don't enjoy art, so I don't want to go to the museum. They might be a little off put, but it's very truthful, and they're going to trust you more because they know you're going to tell them the truth, that you're not going to just kind of slide that off and say, oh, well, I can't that day, I'm busy. I mean, how many times have you heard that and kind of gone, really? Are you busy, or are you just blowing me off, right? Okay, so I hope that example helps you. And the second example are words that I've been working on recently with myself, and those words are, I don't know. So I got to tell you, the problem with these words is, unless it's like someone's asking you something about quantum physics and you literally do not know what they're speaking about, often that's not the case though, right? And someone asks you something like, what do you want for dinner? Or where are you going on vacation? Or when are you going to, finish that book? Something like that. And if you say, I don't know, it's also very disempowering, right? And so I can give you a totally personal and recent example. So as I said, I'm welcoming and opening up to new experiences in my lifestyle. And as I'm going towards the new, of course, we always have to let go of the old, right? You have to let go of some things in order to have room for the new. And of course, people ask, so, once you do this, then what? Like, where are you gonna go? What are you gonna do? How is your life gonna change? And I found myself saying, I don't know a lot. And this lesson came up to me one day, and I thought, okay, every time I say I don't know, I need to ask myself, is this true? Do I really not know? Or am I using those words out of habit or out of a way to not be judged? Sometimes you say, I don't know, because you don't want to tell someone exactly what's going on because you don't want to judge or be judged. Or maybe you're afraid of failure, right? So that comes up for all of us. In my case, a lot of it was I have several pieces of my puzzle that are going to have to fall in line before plan A kind of comes to fruition. And I also have plan B and C and so forth, as many plans as I need for, each specific instance, because that's how I am. I'm a planner. And so part of my I don't know was that I literally wasn't settled on the particulars, the details of my plan. But the truth of it was, I do know. I know what plan A is. I know what I want to do. I know where I'm going forward, and I have a plan, right? Part of it was also that if plan A doesn't work out, I don't want to have to explain myself, or I don't want to be judged for it, or I don't want to feel like a failure. So if I don't say that to somebody, then I feel kind of protected, right? And so I had to really get a little honest with myself, which I did, and figured out that, yes, I do know. And so now I'm starting to share plan A with people because I realized that, if they're asking, they're either interested or they're not. And if they're just making idle chit chat, what difference does it make what I tell them? And if they are interested, I'm gifting them my truth. And this is what it all comes back down to again, is really letting people see your truth and being seen and standing up for yourself. And along those lines, the other point is if you say, I don't know about something that you do know, you're also bringing a bunch of anxiety and stress to yourself that you really don't need. Because think about it. If you don't know something, you're uncertain. And with uncertainty comes a certain level of stress and fear, right? Fear of the unknown and fear of not being capable. That's the other part of it. If someone's asking you what's going on and you say you don't know, you're not capable of taking action in that situation in the best way you know how. So I'm changing those words around, and every time I feel like saying I don't know, I take a quick check and I go, is this true? Do I really not know? And I have found that most of the time I do know, and I can cater my answer depending on the conversation I'm having. So I'm not saying you have to tell everybody your business all the time. I know there are different levels of intimacy and trust between different people, but in order to empower yourself, go ahead and give an answer. And if you're wondering what other kind of answers you can give, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to talk about that, because there are nice ways to let people know that the question they've asked is one you're not comfortable giving them the answer to. There are nice ways to not insult people and basically tell them that's not your business, or I'm just not comfortable sharing that right now. Simple things, kind of going back to even the reasons why you're saying, I don't know, or I can't, could be just to say, I'm not in a place right now to discuss that, right? Certain things have to come together before I can tell you for sure. You can actually explain in those sort of ways and not be divulging too much personal information or too many intimate details. So I hope this has helped you. So to recap, I gave you 2 examples, and there are tons and tons of things that we say, right, all the time that are like this. When you say, I can't, or I don't know, or I shouldn't. And so unless you are actually restrained or you are actually ignorant about the topic at hand, these things aren't actually true for you. And it's really powerful to look at that and say, what is true here? What do I know? Or what am I choosing in this situation? So if you have other examples, I'd love to hear them. I can't think of any off the top of my head right now of things that we say. But a lot of it just has to do with passing the responsibility off of yourself and onto someone else. When you say I can't, it actually says I'm not responsible for this decision in my own life. And that's where the power really lies, is are you making decisions for yourself in your life And are you honest with yourself and others to stand for that, to go ahead and stand for that? Because that is so important. And it's such a waste of time and energy when you're passing your responsibility off onto someone else, right? Especially if it's someone who doesn't know that they're getting the responsibility or doesn't want it. And I don't know how many times I have heard people say, oh, I can't because of my kids, my husband, my boyfriend, my friends, whatever, when it wasn't actually true. And then they're like, well, this is just some kind of social salve, right? You tell a little white lie so you don't hurt someone's feelings. And I understand the comfort in that to a certain degree, but at the same time, you're also giving an impression that you're not in control of your life. And not to go too deep down the rabbit hole, but if you tell someone else that you let other people make decisions for you, they may get the impression that they could also make decisions for you, or that they need to ask someone else about something for your life, and you could end up getting bypassed altogether. They may think, okay, so I always have to ask her husband before I ask her to go do something. And they may ask your husband, and he says yes, and the next thing you know, you're in an uncomfortable situation, 10 times more uncomfortable than if in the first place you would have just said, I would prefer not to do that activity. I have chosen something else for my time during that day or whatever. So I hope this topic helps you a little bit. Like I said, it's something I'm dealing with myself right now. I'm being very careful to watch my words and being very conscious of what I'm saying, because what I say is also what I hear of myself. And I certainly don't want to give my subconscious any kind of evidence that I'm not capable, or that I don't know what I'm doing, or that I am giving my power away to someone else over something that I am going to make a conscious choice about. And this comes to our health, it comes to everything in our life, it comes to where we live, who we see, what we eat, whether we exercise or not. And I'll give you a beautiful, beautiful example. This lady, she was talking about how she went gluten-free. And although she didn't test positive for celiac or anything, she found that going gluten-free really helped her with her acne and her joint pain. So as you've probably heard me talk about before, gluten is one of the most highly inflammatory things, and even if it's not giving you digestive issues, it can be affecting things, because chronic inflammation is not healthy. Acute inflammation is one of the body's processes for healing, but if you're constantly and periodically causing your body harm, that's just not good, right? So in any case, she noticed when she gave up gluten that she felt a whole lot better, no more joint pain, and her skin cleared up. And so she decided not to eat gluten anymore. And so for a while, as anyone who's ever gone on any kind of diet or tried to improve their nutrition knows, you'll end up in a scenario where someone will say, oh, just have a little bit, just have a little, one bite of cake or one piece of bread. It won't hurt you, right? Because they truly believe it won't hurt you, or they just don't care, whatever. And so she was in this situation over and over, and she would keep saying, no, I can't. And then finally one day she got really mad about it, and she told someone, I don't eat gluten. I just don't. And she felt so powerful in that moment. And that person wasn't necessarily offended. I think she said they were a little taken aback with the moment. It was like, oh, surprised. Okay. And after that, that is what she would say to people. She would just say, I don't eat those type of foods. I just don't eat that. And it simplified her life so much and gave her so much power, because then it was no longer, I can't. It was, I have chosen not to. And people respect your choices. I mean, not everybody, right? Like there's always somebody who won't. But for the most part, people admire other people who make conscious choices and stand their ground. I think you could probably think of examples in your own life even of people who you admire simply because they are really good at making decisions and sticking to them and moving forward in their life. And the bonus there is, going back to how we only have so much energy and so much willpower in the day. When you make a decision and you reinforce it to yourself and others over and over by saying, I have decided, I am not a person who does that, I don't do that, I do know how that is going to be, I do know what I'm going to do, then you're not spending any, not even subconscious minutes trying to think of alternatives or trying to figure out how to mitigate what you're saying. You're simply stating a truth. And the truth is a beautiful thing. I always welcome the truth. So I hope that this will inspire you. And I invite you to do this with me when you are saying something like, I can't, or I don't know, to say is to yourself or out loud, say, wait a minute, is that really true? Or do I know? Or have I made a choice? Is this actually a choice I've made? And acknowledge that, be aware of those type of things. And I think it will serve you greatly because I know it has served me a whole lot. So trust that you will leave me some comments about what you think about this. I would love to hear your experiences, or I would love to hear if you try it out. If you catch yourself and you do this little practice, let me know how it goes. Let me know how it makes you feel. And if you want to have more free coaching from me, go over to my website, colleen-bean.com, and sign up for my free newsletter and send me a message over there. I'd love to hear from you there as well. And you'll get lots of free resources from me over there. Again, it's at colleen-bean.com. And leave me comments on this video. Let me know what you think. And I look forward to talking to you. And I'll talk to you again really soon. Okay, bye.